What if the first real sign of alien disclosure wasn't a crashed UFO? What if it was a website? Because you see, the US government just locked down 2 federal domains. Talking about alien.gov and aliens.gov. Now, these aren't joke sites, not some troll on the internet. These are federal domains. And they did it right in the middle of one of the loudest alien stretches we've had in years. Obama goes on a podcast and starts talking about aliens. All of a sudden, our president fires back and says, he shouldn't have said that. Now, the country, it just came off mysterious drone panic. Giants being rumored in malls, backyard creature stories, and a whole new wave of people asking the same question over and over. What's coming? Then this happens. 2 names, minutes apart, locked inside the official .gov system. No normal public rollout, no friendly explanation. Just a dark door with the most radioactive words possibly stamped on the front.
If this was just paperwork, they had safer words. UAP, archives, records, anything less explosive than aliens. But they didn't choose safer. They chose words that hit people right in the spine. So tonight, this is not about proving aliens are here. It's about something that may be even stranger. Welcome to Deceptive Reality.
Let me tell you, this one right here, it's kind of got me a little bit spooked out. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but this one, it kind of stops feeling like a funny internet joke is the best way I can put it. It kind of starts feeling like the government is making some fast moves here and there. They had grabbed those 2 domains, and it kind of is a little bit freaky. They grabbed aliens.gov.
Ooh.
And then alien.gov, and they did it 71 seconds apart, Nick. That's relatively quick.
It was probably really simultaneous, but they get processed in batch, so
Probably so.
They knew what they knew what they wanted.
It sounds more mysterious when I say it that way, though, Nick.
That's true. That is true. It was only 71 seconds apart.
That's right. It's like it was planned. It was one man. The weird thing about it is in a case like this one, when we talk about alien and aliens, and it's the plural, this wasn't something random. And I started thinking about this, usually when people's kicking around concepts and ideas, like when I picture UFO disclosure, and I'm not saying that's what this is. Let's get that out of the way right away. I'm not saying it's alien disclosure, but
I am. I'm on the record.
But what I'm saying is, I always think of it like the movies or like a television show where the president comes out and he's talking to the world and he's like, we had first contact today. Like, that's how I picture it. I don't picture it with something as simplistic as like just a website. That kind of caught me off guard. And here's the thing. They did it kind of underneath the cloak of everything. They've not really talked about it. There's no official site up. And the thing that kind of blew my mind a little bit is how they went about it. Now, Nick, you're what I call the website guru. When I talk about website building, you're the guy that I typically contact. Explain to everybody kind of the importance of why this website, the whole aliens.gov and alien.gov, what makes this different than the typical government website that would have been created?
Well, before I start, I'll correct you. You called me a nerd earlier, so don't forget that part.
That's right.
But there is a lot of things that make this different, and it's a good topic for a nerd to talk on.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the government websites, only the government can order these. You can't go out and buy a .gov. People from another country can't buy a .gov. That's strictly an American government website, and it's part of 2, .gov and .mil for the military.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And yeah, so that's important to know. And all communication that is official has to go through .gov websites. Now, if you want to get one of these, it's not even easy if you're in the government. It's got to be signed by a higher authority. Ultimately, all of these go through the upper echelons of government before they're registered because it represents the government as a whole. And they don't do these on whims. You don't see things like tomsbirthday.gov or anything like that. These are intentional purchases. And one of the most interesting thing is these were registered after a shutdown that says no more of these can be registered.
Yeah, when I read that, I was a little bit shocked because
Hmm.
my understanding was there was a complete freeze, and that freeze said that there could be no additional sites. And I found it odd that after that, they said, we have to have these 2 sites. This wasn't
Right.
That's why I sit back and I go, there has to be something big brewing.
There's a sort of sense of urgency about this.
Correct.
Because they've already, so I'm trying not to use industry terms for people, but when you have a domain, you've got to point it to servers, and it's called delegation. And these are already delegated to Cloudflare. And Cloudflare's big because they have infrastructure that allows them to defend against DDoS attacks. They can prevent botnets. They've got a wide Anycast network that allows the site to be served from the closest server to where you are. And it has redundancy, so it can't be taken down. Probably can't be taken down easy other than human incompetence. But also, just like whitehouse.gov, these have been set with a TTL of 30 minutes. And what that means is when they're ready to do a disclosure, if they were getting up on stage to do that big reveal, like you said, they can update in 30 minutes around the world.
That's insane.
Yeah, that seems very intentional for this kind of site.
Well, and that's the thing. This is why when and for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, we're literally breaking this. This is less than a week from the time we're recording it. We're really trying to get ahead of the curve on some of these stories. We're not waiting until months later or, a year later. A lot of our stories are going to be based on the past, and some of the things we're going to talk about is going to be from the past, even when it comes to this. But we're really trying to break some of this news. So you can go to a lot of places. Honestly, when I looked for information on this, the only people that really had anything on this was news channels, and it was very vague.
Right.
So I want to get to the front and just say, this is our take. Here's what I think's going on, and kind of go from there. And we have a little bit of information that I'm going to be providing, but I don't know. I thought it was, the other weird thing, Nick, and I don't know if you thought about this when we did a deeper research on this, is if you look at our government and the moves that we've made to kind of change the perception, right? Like, remember when everyone used to say, I saw a UFO. Well, then the government said, we don't want to use terminology like UFOs. We want to use UAP, or the other one was the something human intelligence or whatever that is. And it's like, it's almost like they
NHI.
That's
NHI, non-human intelligence.
Non-human intelligence. Exactly. When you see a government that says, okay, we don't want to be known as those kind of people, right? Like, I almost look at it like a high school to a degree, right? You got the cool kids that's, we don't want to do what the nerds are doing, and it's like we pull so far away from that. And then all of a sudden we register something that I feel like 2 years ago, we would have never registered, like Alien. Like, that's what we chose.
I couldn't have pictured that. I wouldn't have expected this at all.
Me neither. Like, if honestly, based on the things that we've been doing here recently, I would have thought we would have done like UAP records, .gov or disclosureportal.gov or even archives.gov. You know what I'm saying? Not Alien, and then aliens.gov. Like, that just seems like it's a little weird.
It's in the realm of possibility that they have registered others that we're not aware of.
Okay.
Now one thing that's important is these are not like, someone in the government can't register one of these as a joke or something. These are being monitored, which I think you've seen as well.
Yeah.
That they keep track of those. But without it getting leaked to the press, they could have UAP.gov and other ones. But we can check that. And I can give you a definitive one here. We'll kind of answer one of our one of our big questions live here. Did they register UAP.gov? No.
That's so wild to
About
me.
NHI? No.
Isn't that wild? So
It's strictly alien.
they went with the thing that I don't know why. Again, that's why it felt like a joke at first. I'm like, man, they didn't do that. That doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
And the other thing is there's been communication. I'm not going to go too much into the whole government thing because people get a little weird when it comes to politics in the US, and I don't want to deal with that in the comments, if that makes sense. But there's been people within our government when asked about things like, UAPs, they've been said, this is coming soon, and they've been using the alien emoji.
Mm.
It's happened twice recently.
That's unusual because you don't see that kind of levity with
Correct. With a government.
government agents very often.
Exactly. We're not talking about low level in the government. We're talking like head of securities and stuff. And they're using the alien emoji, which is almost like a call to something like this, which I thought was so interesting. And the other thing is, you would think if, at least this is the way I think, like if they created all this stuff, you would think there'd be like a homepage or something with an explanation, or maybe like a coming soon or like an announcement. There's been none of that. I almost expect, because of, the state that we're in right now, like a little patriotic placeholder saying, calm down, everybody. Don't worry. This isn't something nuts. They're like, well, let's just leave it in the dark, see what happens.
Yeah. I don't want to jump right into being a conspiracy not right off the gates here. But I was a little worried earlier because I was doing a dig, which is how you can find out information about a domain if people listening are not nerds like me.
Yeah.
But you can do a dig to find out what records exist on a domain. And I was a little worried I was going to get on watch list because I was furiously doing dictionary type digs.
Yep.
On these names. And I think because they don't have anything on the root or anything on the www. So while they're delegated to Cloudflare, they've not exposed where the actual site's going to be hosted. And to me, in my conspiratorial mind, this means that they've got a hosting location with tons of sensitive or time sensitive data that they don't want people to be able to hack into before they've decided it's available.
So what, and we'll kind of talk about this a little bit. There was something that happened a couple of years ago where we basically said there had to be disclosure.
Right.
And a lot of people has the hypothesis that that's exactly what this is. Now, the difference is, and I think this is where a lot of people's going to get a little bit frustrated, is when I hear disclosure, I'm thinking, y'all are going to show me like a video or like a picture of an alien going, hey dudes, but that's when you have a disclosure like this, think about how the government typically discloses things. It's a redacted form. They still give it to you, but you don't know what's there. The way I look at the site as a potential is, hey, we're going to disclose there's some things out there, but it's going to be like a receipt. Like you can see something was purchased, but we're not going to show you what it is.
Right. Or could be like mountains of data that you can't connect.
Correct.
Normally, or it hides one grain of information.
Correct. Now, it was interesting, and I feel like a lot of this kind of started kicking up a little steam. I had mentioned it earlier, but Barack Obama was on a podcast that I had never heard of. I've never seen this podcast. I'm sure it's a huge podcast, just not typically my bang zone. But the podcaster started asking questions. I think the guy's name's like Brian Cohen or something.
Okay.
But he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, are aliens real? And Obama was basically like, oh, they're real, but I haven't seen them. And
do you think that was opinion or that was presidential knowledge?
Well, here's the thing, and this is why it gets a little bit interesting. I'm going to come back to it, but he kind of retracted a little bit. He kind of
Mm.
clarified that what he was talking about is that there's life somewhere in the universe.
Right. Okay.
But the way he said it was not like that.
Yeah, that's not the first thing that comes to my mind if someone were to ask me that.
No, and he said, I think what he said was, there's no, because after he said what he said, I think he says something along the lines of, there's none in Area 51 in a hidden basement. I'm like, that's like telling us all it's there.
Yeah, right.
That's where my UFO brain side goes. But I found it interesting because shortly after that, our current president, which I can't say the name because we got thrown in YouTube jail last time I did.
Mhm.
And I didn't even say it. The
Right.
freaking YouTube or transcription tool thought I said it. But anyway, y'all can piece it together. Our current president, which I'll get in trouble if I say, is like Voldemort.
Yeah.
When he was asked about it, because they said, hey, Obama said this on this podcast, and he goes, oh, he's not supposed to say nothing about that. That's not, he said classified information. I would never say
Right.
something like that.
Right.
So basically it's like, yeah, man, there's like UFOs, but he's not supposed to say that. And then,
Isn't what he said more telling than what Obama said?
I thought it was funny the way he did it though. If
Mm.
anything, there's a comedy show there, but the reporter did say, you're president, you can declassify anything. And his exact words was, well, maybe I'll just, declassify it because, that way he doesn't get in trouble. And I'm like, you're basically telling the entire world there's aliens. Like there's
Right.
no doubt about it at this point. So
Well, there was another president that really wanted to know about that. Wasn't it Clinton
yeah,
that really wanted to know about it? And then he came out later and said that there's some things that they wouldn't even tell him.
right. And probably good idea on some of our presidents. Now, there has been a
Yeah.
theory that our current president, whom
Mhm.
shall remain unnamed,
Let's
was
stick with Voldemort. I like
Voldemort.
that. Let's
Yeah.
For anyone listening now, if you hear Voldemort going forward, you know who we're talking about.
But it's interesting because some says that he's been, for the first time in a long time, kind of given clearance on things. And he
Mm.
always said he would be the president that would provide this information. Some of the theories is that it's going to come out in 2027, which,
Mm.
unrelated, but I'm going to say it anywho. When we did our Pope episode, wasn't there
Yeah.
something that was supposed to happen in 2027? Wasn't there like
Oh,
the end of the
yeah.
world coming or something? But there was that disclosure. Now, I do find it interesting because we talked about this quite heavily last year. I feel like we didn't get enough exposure, or possibly we was held down a little bit. But remember when we
Mhm.
talked about those New York drone, the little panic attack that was happening with people?
Oh, yeah. World over. World over, really.
Yeah, I mean, there was thousands of sighting and people staring up in the sky. Lawmakers, that's when they really demanded the answer. They're like, listen, everyone online was convinced that there was something weird happening.
Mhm.
And the federal officials later said that they found no evidence of a national security threat, and that many reports was probably just misidentified aircraft or other ordinary objects. Now, you also had went outside and saw some of these
Right.
drones. So,
Along with my whole office, in fact.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, you can say a lot of things, but when you start hearing things like that, you got to kind of lean back and go, no, I know people. I interviewed a guy on that podcast. His girlfriend went out and was looking right at it.
Mhm.
They had a
Yeah.
video of it. We posted that video on that YouTube channel, or on our YouTube channel when we covered,
Yeah.
that drone. And it's like, everyone's seen it. If everyone's
Mhm.
seen it, you can't say this was just misidentified aircraft. We've been seeing aircrafts for years.
Yeah. And the patterns that they were taking and staying in.
Right.
I got to be completely frank with you. Like, this is embarrassing to admit, but the people I work with and myself, we were a little concerned
Oh,
for the
as you
next few
should be.
days. We were like, I go walking at night and I was kind of like looking up to the skies and thinking, anything could happen to me. at any time.
That's true. But think about all the things that happened last year, right? We had the
Mm-hmm.
drones that happened last year. Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
that Miami mall?
Yeah, you told me about that, and we actually covered it a bit.
We
That was
covered it a little
fascinating.
bit. You know, on that
Mm-hmm.
one, it was a viral clip. We're talking huge, and people online was swearing that there was these giant beings in the mall. Police said it was just teenagers. They had fireworks, and it was all just chaos from them setting off the
Right.
fireworks. It wasn't aliens, but yet they had every single police cruiser known to man in front of that mall.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was people that also said they saw these 10-foot tall aliens, and then that just kind of went to the wayside. The story was
Yeah.
debunked, but you know, it got debunked by who? You know, that's the thing that doesn't quite make
Mm.
sense to me. It's like it's easy to say, yeah, that was nothing. And then the police came out and they said, no, it wasn't aliens, it's just these teenagers.
Yeah.
But we had that last year.
These 10 feet tall teenagers that keep lighting off fireworks,
Exactly. It's like if you're going to come up with something, why would people come up with aliens by default? Like that just seems like such a weird
Right.
thing. But
Well,
then,
the things that they're blaming it on happen all the time. People
Yeah.
know the difference.
100%. And the other thing that I think back to, if you remember correctly, I think it was last year also. Remember we
Mhm.
covered that. In fact, I know it was last year. Remember we covered that family that was in, what was it, California, I think, where the police cruiser was driving down the road and they saw that meteor coming down, or like it looked like a
Oh,
thing that
yeah.
exploded.
Yeah.
And then they get a police call. And when they get the police call,
Mhm.
this family's like, hey, this thing crashed into our backyard. You need to come.
Right.
They're like, well, what was it? And they're like, oh, there's these two huge beings.
Mm.
Then the police get there. When the police get there, they have the camera footage where they're going into the backyard. When they're going into the backyard, me personally, okay, y'all might say, no, I didn't see that. I see in the top of that fence what almost looks like, remember the Predator suit when the Predator had that thing,
Right.
zoom, and it would go invisible?
Yeah.
Exactly what it looked like to me.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you were able to enhance that video to make it so that I could see it as well. Because
Correct.
I'm a little bit colorblind, a lot of bit colorblind. So
Yep.
I had trouble, but Bert was able to enhance that video, and it's clear as day what he was seeing there.
Oh, yeah, because here's the thing. Cameras can do a lot of weird things. I'm not saying they can't.
Mm.
Like they can have aliasing that occurs. You know, it can change pixelation. There can be things, just straight up noise that can cause things. This was literally a light paradox that changed the direction of a light, much like you
Mm.
take a prism and it bends the light. That's exactly what it
Right.
looked like to me. Now,
Which, if you think science-wise, that's how that would work.
100%. And here's the thing.
Mm.
I'll be the first one to tell you, do I wear a tinfoil hat from time to time? Yes. Okay. But that one to me was almost like proof.
Mm.
But that happened last year too. So if you think about it, if you kind of step back and look at the big picture before, with them coming out with this, alien.gov, aliens.gov,
Mhm.
you had a former president that said aliens are real and then walking the story back. You have our current sitting president saying
Mhm.
maybe files are coming. Like he straight
Right.
up said it. Hey, we might have some files coming, folks.
Mhm.
You have a country that just deals with all these drones, and it was like literally a drone hysteria. Like people were freaking out about these things, and rightfully so.
Mhm.
You got giants being rumored in a mall of all places.
Right.
Hundreds
Huge
of
amount of
people seen it.
witnesses.
Hundreds of people saw it. Then you got this backyard, non-human, predator-looking thing that's going around all the different areas. And this thing was taller than the fence. The fence is probably 7 foot, 6, 7 foot.
Right.
So you got
Yeah, those
that.
privacy fences are high.
Oh, yeah.
They're not 4 foot tall men to look over.
No. I mean, usually when I walk up to them, they're about the total length of height to me and sometimes a little taller. So whatever this
Hmm.
was over 6 foot for sure.
Right.
And then on top of it, they register 2 websites, alien.gov aliens.gov. I know I keep saying that. It's just so shocking to me.
Right.
But you have to say, is there a reason why? And I think all of this matters. I don't think it's just dumb luck that this is what's happening.
Can I make a counter prediction to yours? Because you said you think it's coming in 2027.
Yes.
The announcement or the use of these websites.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2026.
You think this year?
Yeah, I'll bet. Let's bet on that.
Okay.
Gentleman's bet.
I'm ready for it.
I cheated.
You cheated?
I've already cheated.
How?
They registered the domain for only 1 year, and they did it so early in this year that it wouldn't make sense for them to release it after they have to renew. So I think it's going to be this year.
Why would they do that for?
That might be concerning too, because .govs can be registered for up to 10 years.
Yeah.
So if they only registered it for 1 year, that makes me nervous that they feel like they're not going to need it after a year.
Yeah. Why would they do that for 1 year? That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It literally costs them no money.
So it's like, here's the thing that I guess I'm confused on. If let's take our alien tinfoil hat off for just a second and think about what you just said.
Right.
Let's say it's a way that you can do just disclosure information, right? Like maybe it's to inform the public. You're going to do that for more than just 1 year.
Well, usually they plan to have a continuing service when they make websites like this.
Yeah.
So I found that very unusual, and I just found it out now. I wasn't hiding that from you. Just so you know.
That's so interesting to me. That's something that I think it kind of, to a degree, makes me lean back and go, there's got to be a primary reason why they would only do that for a year.
Right.
Because that wouldn't
make sense.
It wouldn't even be to the next administration.
Right.
Because the change.
That makes me nervous.
Because the change will be in 2028. It'll be an entire year after that website was, quote unquote, potentially already gone.
Yeah. So, I mean, now, obviously, they can renew it each year.
Yep.
But what's the purpose of that? Because each renewal chance is a chance to accidentally lose the domain and have it go offline. So for safety of their data and safety of being online, do it for the maximum term. If you don't want to use it, just don't use it.
Right. It's like even us.
Is there a reason?
Think about our websites. We buy them for multiple years. I think, I own mine for 5 years at this point.
Oh yeah, all of mine are multiple years because I don't want to take the chance. Now, it's not the same for them, but if you or I lose our domains, it could be thousands of dollars to get them out of redemption.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the part that, I don't know, blows my mind. It really makes me think about what a lot of people's talking about too, because, you and I kind of touched on it a minute ago, but the NARA, they had already had like this live UAP records collection, and they called it the Record Group 615. It's just boring jargon. And basically said the agencies had to begin transferring materials on a rolling basis. Like that's kind of when we get into the whole disclosure thing, right? And this wasn't some imaginary future system. So we knew something was coming. And a lot of people think that's exactly what this would be. It's almost like an archive in which you had talked about. The reason that they may not have disclosed some of that information was because they've already have an archive of stuff, which would make sense.
Right.
Even if we look at it from this, which is that, NARA thing, it would make sense that they're sitting on some of this stuff now and they're going to continue to collect and then push it out. But to only have that for a year?
Yeah, it doesn't all that work for a year. I mean, especially if it's disclosure stuff, that's got to be available all the time. All the time.
Right.
Like, so I don't understand that. It almost like if I was a true conspiracy nut, I would say, oh, all those 2027 predictions are real, so why register it past the end date?
Exactly. Expiration date, folks.
Right, that's our expiration date.
That's the thing, man. It kind of has a dark version of it if you think about it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, for
guess
real.
one way to look at it, this website, maybe it's a freaking waiting room,
Mm,
if you know what I'm saying. I mean, I don't know. I guess I just expected something to be there. And it's like
yeah.
if we already had a system that was set up to collect like UAP records, I'm just going to say it,
Right.
UFOs, y'all can sue me. UFO
Yeah.
records, some, different things. Because remember, we had balloons going over our country last year too. So I thought,
Right.
maybe this would be a way of even disclosing that. And I think those balloons was like
Mm,
60,000 feet in the air or something like that. So it's like,
mm.
I even thought maybe that's part of what some of this is. I don't know.
Is it possible it's a reporting website for people to go on and sort of like they'll centrally collect the data? Like, oh, Margaret saw a UFO last night at 12 p.m. or at, at midnight, and it was seen in this GPS location, and these are the events. And maybe they're going to be collecting this information because maybe they are taking it seriously now,
Well,
and
and
maybe
I
they weren't before.
I suspected some of that too could potentially be there. And I'm
Hmm.
sure the problem is there's not a lot of the only place where I've seen a lot of people talking about this is Reddit. And my opinion
Right.
of Reddit. Reddit's just a whole bunch of people that don't know that's got really loud voices. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real mixed bag of, I don't know, one expert with 5,000 people who think they're expert.
Right, exactly. So I don't know. I did think that also, like maybe it's a spot where
Mm,
people can say, hey, this is what I saw. This is when I saw it. This was roughly my GPS and I was looking north or I was looking east or, whatever it
right.
may be. I don't know. There is a lot of skeptical views online and there's a lot of
Hmm.
people that's saying, nope, this is our Signs moment, the movie Signs.
Right.
It's just a matter of time till we see a UFO. But it was kind of interesting because the skeptics are basically looking at alien.gov and aliens.gov, and they're saying, just calm
Mm,
down, chill out. The domain's not a flying saucer. It's not a dramatic word. There's no proof of any of this stuff coming out.
mhm,
A weird rollout is not going to be the first contact. And honestly, I mean, I get it. That's probably a fair observation, right?
mhm.
Like they're going to put it out. I would think that if they was going to disclose stuff heavily, like I say, it's going to be heavily redacted. And there's not going to be any photos and there's not going to be any videos of it, obviously, if they
Right,
did.
right.
I'm not saying they are,
Mm,
not saying they're not. I'm just saying probably if they're going to disclose, it's going to be like this redacted, this redacted,
mhm,
like
mhm.
everything else. So I don't know. But the believers are looking at the patterns and the patterns are a little weird, right? You got presidential jokes, half jokes about aliens on podcasts, and then our current president, Voldemort, that they're talking to. Someone's going to cut that up in a short, and they're going to think I'm calling the president Voldemort, and I'm going to get censored again. Uh,
We can't win on this. There's no
we can't.
way,
There's a
but
no-win policy on this, but then you got our president that's on a plane that's obviously saying his thing. They're talking about the UAPs, everything that we saw last year. There's people that's like, listen, when you got the White House and the Pentagon that starts throwing around alien emojis also,
mhm,
put two and two together. So there's kind of that fight that I've seen online where the skeptics are like, no, this is just whatever. Now, I
yeah,
will say, when I look at the big picture and I look at just what happened to last year, I
mhm,
believe that this is the year, like the old saying is, something's going to happen where they're going to say, hey, hold my beer and watch this.
right,
I do feel like there's going to be some weird things that's going to happen this year. And this year's just going to be just the beginning. Like the things we're seeing right now is going to be just the beginning of all of these little things. And we're all going to
mm.
lean back next year and go, wow, we thought 2025 was wild.
Like we've been doing for every year since COVID came
It
out.
definitely feels that way. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It definitely feels that
Mhm.
way. I mean, I guess the
It
big,
feels like escalation every single year.
it really does. I just find it so odd that they went with, of all names, Alien
Mhm,
and aliens.gov. Like that just for
right.
me makes me lean back and go, why? Like, is this just a slap
Mm,
in the face of the prim and proper people that's like, we have to call them UAP. We have to call them this. We have to call them that. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
I think they want it accessible to everyone because only the people who follow this know what a UAP is, what an NHI is. Like, if you weren't into this already, you wouldn't know, but you sure as heck know what an alien is.
Correct. You know what an alien is, you know what a UFO is. And that's what this feels like. It feels like they want to come up with the easiest words so that everyone understands what it is.
But why is it important that everyone understands what it is? That's the problem. Why is it important that this hits as many people as possible?
Yeah, that part is weird.
Yeah, that's something that is big news. They don't want only the people interested in it to know. They want this to be seen by people's parents and grandparents and, you know, something that could be found by every single person on the planet.
Right. And being in the position that you are and your knowledge of websites, is there anything that you're seeing that just absolutely stands out where you're pointing a finger and going, at a minimum, that's weird?
Yeah. So I think I talked about most of these already, but I'm going to include a sneaky way that we might be able to find information early going forward.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully there's people out there who are spending a lot of time on their computers that can do this, because I know I'm not going to have time. But the first thing is they're putting it on Cloudflare, very normal, but they're putting it on the enterprise ones. It's something that they want to be safe and always available when it's online. The TTLs, or time to live, of the records is very short compared to most of the rest of the internet. And that's because they want it to be able to go live quickly or change quickly. It was only registered for a year that we just talked about, even though 10 years are available. So it likely means it's coming up soon this year. And the other thing I do know, which I double checked on some other government websites right now, is they still need a digital certificate or an SSL certificate to go live.
For those that doesn't understand what that is, what is that?
So that's the padlock you used to see in the address bar to let you know that the information that you're sending and receiving is encrypted, so no one can get in the middle and steal your information. And every site on the internet has to have one. Otherwise, your browser will tell you that this page is not safe. We've probably all seen that before.
Yeah.
And the thing that I know about digital certificates, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about, is that if your address that you're securing doesn't resolve to something, the validations to prove you own it will fail. So that means before their site goes live, they're going to have to briefly switch their Cloudflare to point to a website host and get that certificate. And they might take it right down after. But if we were watching that, if we were watching the different lists of certificates, we might know where they're hosting this data before they want to go live. So that's, if someone wanted to do that, I'm not doing that. But if someone wanted to do that, they could do that.
That's that would be a pretty big job. Now listen, if you want to do that for old Deceptive Reality and keep a little glance on, I mean, I won't be.
Wait, no, you're doing
angry.
it for yourself. You're not, like, we're not asking you to do that. But you could. And you could choose on your own to tell anyone you wanted to.
That's right.
Like Nick and Bert. Like,
That's right.
You could choose that. We're not telling you to. You could choose that.
I mean, you could choose that. And, you know, tell people if you chose. I don't know who you would choose. You know, but yeah, it's definitely a fascinating set of circumstances. I guess for me, where I land on this entire thing is I don't think that it's a dark website that proves that aliens are here. But I also don't believe that it's nothing at all. There's got to be something to it.
The way they're rolling it out is absolutely not normal.
It's definitely not normal.
In the simplest terms, almost no one delegates to a name server without setting up the root in www.
Exactly. And not only that, but when you think about it, somebody inside the federal system, they locked down the Alien and the Aliens.gov in the middle of a very public alien moment, in my opinion.
Yep.
After our president said that agencies would start identifying and releasing these files tied to aliens, UAP, UFOs, while a very real UAP government thing was already happening in the background. So the part that I can't shake is they didn't disclose anyone to anything. It's almost like they just did it, expected it to just fly underneath the radar. There's been no real headlines about it. Like, I've not really seen news really covering it either. Now, before we put this out, there'll probably be more news agencies that will obviously cover some of this, and now I'm going to look like a liar. But as of the time of recording this, which is March the 23rd, not a whole lot has came out about this. And I find that very odd.
This is new stuff.
Yeah, so I think the timing of it's all very odd, because I think we can all agree this isn't just branding. If they're going to brand, they're not going to brand with the alien name.
Right.
And if it is, this is like the loudest branding incentive they've ever had in their entire lives.
Really?
You know,
I'll tell you one thing, and I told you before we started the show, if this is anything other than related to extraterrestrials, I'm going to be so ticked off.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. And of course, we're a paranormal podcast, so of course, we're going to go automatically to this is in space, little green men. That's where we're going with this.
Right. We roll the dice. It could be not very long before we're found to be wrong, but we're rolling the dice.
Hey, we're rolling with what we got. And if not, hey, there's a lot of parts of our story here that's still true. The mall thing happened. The backyard thing happened. The drone things last year happened. This just happens to be a very weird thing, especially with Obama talking about it. And then our president coming out and talking about, our current president, should I say. I don't know. I just think the positioning of all of this is just very different than how we've done things in the past.
Right. Well, they've never done this before.
Right.
In all these years.
Right. And I mean, the government was already archiving a lot of this stuff in the background. So it's not like, I don't know. I just think there's too many things that says, this is what it is, folks.
Right. But, well, they were having press conferences last year disclosing some things anyway.
1,000%. 1,000%. And in fact, there's a guy, I'm almost scared to say his name because everyone will throw me in the same category as that guy. I'm just going to say there's a guy that's in the space that may or may not have been caught doing some fraud stuff in the past. So not going to get into his name or anything like that. I'm not saying that he was guilty, just saying. But anyway, he said in 2027, there was going to be a huge disclosure and the world for the first time would have the disclosure by a government that aliens were real.
Right. Can you imagine? And actually, now that I think about this is a very plausible event, that all the things that happened in the last few years that were alien related, UAP related, different disclosures in small parts by the government. What if that was testing the waters? Because they've always said that they can't have people know that aliens are real because it would cause widespread panic.
Well, that happened.
And with all these, right. It has happened.
It absolutely happened. That's the reason. So a lot of people don't know this history, but I think it was Truman. During Truman, there was a point in time when we had missiles activated and ready to go because there were blips in our radar. There was blips that was over the White House. And we scrambled aircraft and we could not keep up with the lights. Like, there's an entire set of archives based on this. And I think it was Truman, when this happened, we're like, listen, we cannot keep up with these balls of light. They're moving so quickly. When that happened, they said the only thing scarier than an actual UFO attack is the public's fear of a UFO attack. Because when that happened, there was so many people, like with these drones, that was reporting that specific, I can't remember when it happened, but that specific
Mhm.
thing happened. There were so many people that was reporting it. It was shutting down
Right.
entire landlines.
Yeah, like switchboards can't handle that. But if
Correct.
you think even further back, February 24th and 25th, 1942, the battle they called the Battle of Los Angeles.
Yes.
1,400 anti-aircraft rounds were shot into the sky
Correct.
because of USOs that were spotted. So imagine those are our horrible reactions we get to this, and they're finding out that it's getting harder and harder to hide that there are UFOs, there are aliens. So they test the water in 2025.
Right.
Disclose this, disclose that, show this, show that. Our reaction? Nothing.
Well, if you think about it with Truman, the government agency at
Mhm.
that point in time, because of what happened, they contacted Walt Disney, the company,
Mhm.
and said, we want to put some anti propaganda out about this entire UFO thing. So we want people to
Right.
look like country bumpkins or idiots.
Right.
We want to basically make it look like you're an idiot if you report that. And what a lot of people said is even airline pilots that saw things was told, you can disclose whatever you want to disclose. That's totally on
Mm.
you if that's what you want to do. But understand a lot of people's careers, they don't last real long when they disclose things.
Right. Oh, and they were right too,
And
because
they
people
are right.
tried.
100%. I mean, think
Mhm.
about the tic tac that they had on that screen. Whenever I think
Right.
of like UFO disclosure, it's always from a fighter jet with the tic tac or with
Mhm.
those drones last year. Like there's so many cases where the government has put things out that we just
Right.
can't explain. So,
Mhm.
when you have all this disclosure that's happening, but the whole Truman thing, they went to Walt Disney of all places, the biggest when it
Right.
came to, the movies and stuff back then and said, you have to make people look like idiots that do this because we
Mm.
want to embarrass folks from even bringing this kind of stuff up. And I think part of it was
Right.
if you're calling into 911 for this UFO, well, you're going to be treated like you're an idiot and you are an idiot if you believe it.
Right. But after they've tested us in modern days, I think they're like, well, it's time we can disclose this. There won't be widespread panic. People are more concerned with paying their rent than
Correct.
what's out in space.
Correct. But then you think about people like Elon Musk, or you think of people
Mhm.
like, I mean, how many people within the government, or Neil deGrasse Tyson, like these are people that
Right.
specialize
Yeah.
in the outer limits. It's like, are they just doing what they think is right for them by saying, nope, no such thing as an alien. I've never seen proof of an alien. Like if I was to ask
Right.
someone about aliens and I
Mhm.
knew they were being honest, it would be one of two men, Neil deGrasse Tyson or Elon Musk. Why? One's been in space with his spacecrafts
Right.
with cameras all over it. I mean, the
Mhm.
freaking spacecraft he puts up is like a Tesla. There's like 27,000 cameras on the freaking thing.
Right.
If you're going to see something, you would think you would see it there. And the second person
Mm.
is what I consider probably one of the best astrophysicists on the entire planet.
Right.
He's like the
Yep.
equivalent of Sagan, in my opinion. He's
Yeah.
just a new age Carl Sagan.
Right. The other possibility that I don't want to think is that there's just not.
And there may not be. I don't, but here's the
Mhm.
thing with everything that you know and everything that we've covered and everything that we've went down the path, if I was to look at every single paranormal thing that we've talked about, with the exception of ghosts,
Mhm.
I would put UFO as I would put my entire career on it.
There's got to be. The odds are just against it not being real.
Correct. And
But are they
even
here? We don't know.
even Neil deGrasse Tyson said it. He said the odds of us
Mhm.
being the only thing that's possibly out there is rare to none. So even he's
Right.
disclosed it, but he won't say he's seen proof of it from our planet standpoint.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm super curious about you at home and what you think could have potentially been out there. Do you think that it's possible that this is all just some type of ploy from the government? What do you think they're using these websites for? Do you think it's possible? And I'm just saying this as a possibility. Do you think it's possible that 2026 is the year when we truly disclose that there's little green men out there. And if they do you think it's going to be like in Independence Day when the alien comes down? And if it is, I'm not going out there with a sign. I promise you, I'm not going out there with a sign saying, "Welcome, aliens." That person got zapped, boys.
If any of you have watched any of our other episodes, you know what I'm doing out there.
With a bow and arrow, folks.
That's right. I'm taking them out.
I'm dying to know what y'all think in the comments down below. Also, if you've enjoyed this podcast, wherever you're listening to the podcast, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And please be sure to tell your friends. Now, for anyone that likes to hang around, we always do an unboxing. So if you like unboxing,
you can leave if you want to, but
I wouldn't suggest it. I just tell you what, I would stick around for the unboxing if it was me.
Me too. So today you have 1 to 4.
I'm going to go with
this 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm going to go with lucky number 3, Nick.
That's this one right here.
Yep. That's the one I want, Nick. 3.
Man, you have no idea how hard it is to have these things sitting on my desk.
You just want to open
to tear into them.
It's hard. You know, I swear, I'm going to make a prediction, Nick. And I never make predictions. I actually do.
Other than the one in the show today.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm usually wrong. Whenever I predict something, I'm generally wrong. I'm going to say today, the odds are just with me, Nick. I feel like, listen, here's how confident I am. They say if you say things out into the world, it just happens. This thing ain't open yet. I bet this is a gremlin. I'm going to say it right now.
I hope it is.
It's a gremlin.
I hope it is.
It doesn't even have to be. Listen, we're not even going to tease this thing anymore. Finally, for the first time ever on my podcast, a gremlin. Or a Chucky. Dang it.
Oh, I'm so
always
sorry.
wrong.
I know you wanted. Have you got that, Chucky?
No, I do not have this Chucky.
Oh, it's still a win then. It's still a win.
Still a win. I just wish it was a doggone gremlin, man. I wanted a gremlin. Listen, I felt it. I felt like this was a gremlin.
All right, I've just ripped mine open. Do you want to try your psychic abilities again?
What's my choices? One more time. I forget what the choices are.
Steve, Robin, Hopper, the mum whose name escapes me right now, Eddie, Argyle, Dustin, Mike, 11, the Demogorgon.
Man, there's a lot of choices in yours.
Basically, think anyone from the show.
I'm going to go with, this is a Hopper, Nick. I feel it.
Well, you're wrong again, but I don't have this one. It's Dustin.
Oh, look at Dustin, man. Dustin looking fly, boys.
What's his... Oh, he's got his thinking cap on. I don't know if you'll be able to see that.
That's pretty awesome. Another thing that I really want to put out there to all the peoples, I definitely appreciate all the people's been stopping by and watching our videos. Finally, YouTube has given us a little bit of room to breathe, which I also appreciate. Thank you for that, YouTube.
Yeah, thank you, YouTube.
If anyone has a topic that they want us to cover that we've not covered, I would love to definitely have you hit us up in the comments. Tell us what it is that you're looking to do. I would love to even piece some of your guys' stories together, but we're going to try to stay on top of this all until we see you in the next podcast. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
See you when the UFOs hit.